Are we live? Hey, it's Chris, Homesteading Hardway. And I got a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. The first one is hobby farm versus homestead. We've looked up several definitions of homestead, and kind of the gist of it is it's a self-sufficient subsistence agricultural endeavor. That would be paraphrasing several definitions. But for a homestead to be self-sufficient, you have to have some monetary income. You have to have some money coming in. You've got property taxes you got to pay, several things you're going to have to pay for, but you're going to have to buy from off the homestead. There's no way around it. And you need to be able to pay for those things. Versus if you have a hobby farm, you're working a public job, you're paying for it, it's a hobby, it's like fishing or golf. You don't expect your golf clubs to pay for themselves. So if your mini pigs don't pay for themselves, it's no big deal. But on a homestead, livestock, gardens, whatever, need to be productive. If you spend the money to plant a garden, you need to get at least an equivalent amount of food back for that money. If you're raising livestock and selling part of it, you need to get enough from the livestock you sell to at least offset the cost of providing your own food. And that can be tricky, and a lot of people don't understand. This is getting to the next part of what we want to talk about. I'm going to be in ag teacher mode a little bit, but a lot of people don't know how to figure cost, expense versus profit. They don't know how to do it. I have people tell me, well, I made money on such and such, and in my head, in just a few seconds, I can figure out that they have not looked at it, that they haven't made any money, they just think they have. And we're going to use cows as an example because we figured on our cows what it cost in return and everything, and decided to get rid of them. But we're going to use cows as an example. These numbers are rounded off. They're kind of actual real world numbers for eastern North Carolina right now. But don't use this as the basis for what you're doing. Different areas, prices on things vary greatly. Rules vary greatly. Apparently in other states, they have some kind of tax break for homesteaders and other things that you can figure in on this that we don't have in North Carolina. Here, I think unless you get 40% of your income off of a small farm, you don't get nothing. I mean, it's got to be an actual farm. It can't be a, per se homestead. We're going to use cows as an example. Let's say today you just decide you want to get in the cow business. Let's say you're going to get in the cow business small. If you got 10 acres you can fence in for a pasture. And let's just say it already has grass on it. That it's already in coastal or some native grass that can be grazed, and that's why you decided to get cows. This is not figured on seeding a pasture. And that's a few $1,000s, so remember that. We're going to start off, most people are going to put their fences and build everything before they get the livestock. That's always a good idea to have somewhere to put it before you get by. First thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to fence it in. You're going to have to build a catch pen, a corral, chute, whatever you want to call it. That's going to cost you $1,500 roughly. You got to have a trailer to go get the cows on. My stock trailer I bought used, this old homemade thing, I give $800 for it. It won't win any beauty contest, but it's adequate. It's $800. You're going to need a bale feeder so you can feed them hay. That's another $200. You're going to need a fence charger. That's another $100. They kind of need some shelter. I know a lot of people don't put any shelter for cows, but they do need a shelter. What people around here have been doing is buying one of these $1,200 carports and then bolting 2x6s on the inside of it so the cows can't tear it down. That's going to cost you about $1,500. A friend of mine just did that. That's what it cost him. So then you're at $4,100 just in infrastructure. Remember that number, $4,100. You've got everything put up. You got everything fixed. It's time to go buy some cows. Now these are real prices here now. It's sad, but they're real prices. Now would be the time to get into cows if you want to do it, because you can buy brood stock cheap. 5 bred cows Cost you about $4,000. You won't bring but about $800 a piece. You can buy a decent bull, not a registered bull, but a good grade bull for about $1,000. That's $5,000. We're at $9,100. All right. Now this is just to feed the brood cows. Just kind of put this in perspective for you. Hay is $480 a year. Feed is $1,642. That's just for the bull and the brood cows. That's $2,122.50. It's going out the door. Next year, next fall, let's say you've got 5 calves that weigh 600 pounds apiece. Prices have come up a little bit because most of my life a calf would bring $1 a pound. Now they won't, but that's why we finally just decided to quit. But for most of my life, you can just about depend on a calf bringing $1 a pound. Let's say you got 5 600-pound calves to bring you $3,000. Okay. You deduct your feed bill. Now bear in mind, I didn't figure on what the calves eat because I never really could figure on what the calves ate. We figured on 5 pounds of grain a day for cows. But the calves, if you put them on a crib feeder, you're going to have to deduct that out of this too. But you deduct your $2,122.50 feed bill from your $3,000 check you got from the stockyard, leaves you $878. Now you got $878 left over. Now bear in mind, this is a $9,100 investment to build the facilities and buy these brood cows. You got $878. There is no fuel figured in on this. There's no fuel figured on going and getting the hay. There's no fuel figured in on going to the feed mill. There's no fuel figured in on going to the stockyard to sell them. And there is not a thin red cent figured in for your time. And then here's the kicker that really made us make up our mind. If you keep a steer to feed out to eat, you can cross that 878 out all day long. It's gone. Not to mention the $300 they charge at the slaughterhouse to process. But a lot of people, when they figure cost of stuff, do not figure in, they just forget about what they spent to start with. They forget about the breeding stock. They forget about fencing costs, upkeep, vet bills. Last year, we had a cow get sick. $800 later, the cow died. You got to keep stuff like that in mind. When you figure out what you have in something, you have to figure it out. When you do that, it'll open your eyes. If you'll put a pencil to it, I say that in a lot of videos, if you'll put a pencil to what you're doing, a lot of times you'll stop. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing anything. And I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to tell you our situation now. This is real world stuff. Okay. We've got the fence. We've got the bale feeder. We've got the fence charger. We've got all the cattle equipment, right? But what I can do, I cannot make keeping brood cows work. I cannot do it. I can't make keeping dairy cows work. If anybody wants to know about keeping one dairy cow, I'll do a breakdown on it. If we get enough questions or enough interest in it, I'll do a video on keeping one dairy cow. Depending on how you do that, it's feasible. It's not going to be a money maker, but it's feasible. But what I can do here is I can go to a friend of mine, or several friends of mine. Like I said, cows are dirt cheap. Here you look, they bring 80 cents a pound. And I can buy 2 300-pound steers. Well, I can put those 300-pound steers on my cow pasture and let them eat just grass and just a little bit of feed all summer until they weigh 600-700 pounds or 800 pounds. Then I can shut them up in my feedlot and I can feed them 200 pounds of feed a piece, which is not that expensive. Feed's $20 for 100 pounds, so you have to figure that out. But that's feasible. You can make that work. And I can take both up to the slaughterhouse. And I can sell one of those calves by the quarter, a quarter of beef, for probably $500 a quarter. And make out like that. And that's what we used to do in the past. And it worked good. But I decided I wanted my own brood cows. We had a few orphan calves that were heifers, and we decided to start raising cows, and it was a mistake. Through the years, this cost me, we've gone $2,000 in the hole several times, and 5 or 6 one year. There was one year we had a couple of cows die, and we had some cows lose their calves, and we really went in the hole. But this formula right here will work on chickens, it'll work on pigs, it will work on rabbits. Anything you want to do, you just need to follow this formula. You got to keep track of what you bought the initial stock for, what it costs for the facilities, and don't figure your time. Your time's just going to depress you. Don't, anything homestead related, do not figure your time. But you just need to figure everything. And here's another thing that just popped in my head. If you have to buy a $25,000 tractor, or if you have to buy a $20,000 truck to be able to do it. See, I already got trucks. I already got tractors. I've already got a lot of stuff. So we change. Like right now, if we decided we want to switch from cows to sheep, all I'd have to do is go put up another strand of wire and go get sheep and try that, which we've tried sheep before and couldn't make that work. A lot of you stuff with farming is numbers. You can make a living off of 100 brood cows, but you can't make a living off 4. And if you really figure in everything, there's a lot of stuff people think they're making money on that they're really not. They've never paid for the breeding stock, they've never paid for the barn, they've never paid for any of it. And maybe that'll help you a little bit. Because I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing this, but I want you to understand what it's going to cost you. I don't want you disappointed when you go trying to do it and find out too late after you spent. So that's what you don't need to do. You don't need to spend this $4,100 putting up fences and buying everything. And then later on find out you're not going to get a return on your investment. That's what I'm trying to save people from. If you want to raise a steer for beef, go for it. If I can do anything to help you, let me know. I'll tell you anything you need to know. But I don't want people, I see it too often. I have too many people move in this neighborhood and they buy a little 5-acre farm and they start their sheep farm or mohair goat farm or mini Jersey cow farm or what was the one like the other year that was so bad, that flopped so bad, the Galloway cows. Had everybody in the neighborhood buying Galloway cows, they're going to be the next big thing, they flop. I just don't want to see people hurt themselves. And that's kind of why we're putting this out. Maybe that'll help you. And remember, you can do this. You can homestead. You can raise your own food. But you just need to know what the monetary cost is going to be. That knowledge is very important. And you never plow a field but turn it over your mind, and we're going to let you go. Thank you for watching.